Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call this session of Board Revision to order and begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and judicial lands of the Ojibwe, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 41st Nation and Treaty 3 territory. My name is Harvey Dine, and I'm chairing this hearing, and with me today are Robert Palenke and Michelle Duncan. The City of Winnipeg Assessment Department is represented by Jamie Forger, and the Board of Vision's administrative personnel today is Sally Caulfield. To the Zoom participants of this hearing, please note that you are placed in the waiting room until your property is called upon. When it is your turn, you will be admitted into the meeting. Kindly follow along in the City of Winnipeg's Board of Revision YouTube channel for the hearing process. Once the host admits you into the hearing, please close or mute your YouTube player. You will then be permitted to speak with respect to your property. Once your hearing is concluded, you can leave the meeting. We'll be hearing application revision of the business assessment rules in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act and the City of Winnipeg Charter. The matters for which revision have been requested are described in each application, and we'll be limiting discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing must be sworn testimony. Anyone speaking to such a matter must be sworn in or affirmed. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered as evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it as well as the City Administration. We make our decision on the basis of the evidence provided at the hearing, and we will issue a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value, or the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to an application for exemption from taxation. And should you wish to appeal, information on do so will be included with the Board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I'll confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We'll then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will be given an opportunity to summarize if they wish to do so. Once all the evidence upon an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all applications have been heard, and the Board will deliberate in private and render decisions. We receive the Board's decision by receipt mail as soon as possible. As information, please note that all public hearings are live streamed, are recorded, and will be forming part of a public record. And today we'll be hearing items 1 through 9 on the docket today. Ms. Caulfield, you can please affirm the assessor's testimony as well as the first applicant if he's present. Thank you.
Mr. Assessor, please state your full name.
Jamie Fougere.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Mr. Applicant, will you state your full name?
Is that for me, for my properties, or?
Yes, it
Mr.
is.
Neufeld, yes.
Ayrton Neufeld.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, well, we're ready to proceed then with the first matter on our docket today, which is 102-2800 Pembina Highway. And Mr. Fougere, when you're ready, you can proceed. If there are no preliminary issues that any party has to bring up first.
No preliminary issues at this point for this property. So as you say, the first property on the docket is 102-2800 Pembina Highway. The business assessment ID is 22286. The business name is Access Credit Union. I believe it was formerly Crosstown Credit Union. The file number for this business assessment appeal is 22-4753. So here we have a total area of 3,249 square feet. This is an owner-occupied premise, so we don't have a reported rent. The base ARV that we're using is $23.72, so just shy of $24 a square foot. And my comparables below are relatively recent lease starts for banks or credit unions along Pembina Highway. And I tried to get as close to the subject as possible here. And you can see that in terms of the size of the units, they range from 4,500 square feet up to 7,350 square feet. And the rental rates that we have range from $26 up to $33. There are bank rents around the city that do fall outside of this range, but the vast majority of the banks or credit unions within the city that have leases in place range roughly from 26 to 33. I would say the bulk of the data that we have is within that range. And again, the lease starts, the first two here, we have 2019 and 2020. Last one, we have 2018 in December of 2018, so almost 2019. So it's typical that you would see a rental rate for a bank in around $30. Here we're coming in at $23.72. So that's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fournier. Mr. Neufeld, do you have any questions?
Yes, please. This is pucked as a retail property.
It is.
Is it, are any of your bank comparables here credit unions?
Let me just see if I have that handy here. So it would take me a minute to try to locate these, but
that's fine. We don't need to go through them. That's
okay.
Is it? I think. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's not a huge important point, but if you don't have it, it's not a big deal. Okay, and then my other question being, have you been in here?
I have been into the subject.
Okay, would you argue that this unit is much better than the rest of the units, or would it be similar finish to, say, Horizon Insurance and the same?
I would suggest that banks typically command a higher rate than other CRUs, and that with that there are additional sort of improvements that typical rental units may not have, such as vaults, security systems, bulletproof paneling at the counters and things like that I would suggest.
Does the subject have any of that?
I can't speak of the specifics with regards to that. I have not reviewed.
Okay. Thanks. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. Those are my questions.
Thank you. Mr. Belenky, do you have any questions?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Belenky. Ms. Duncan, do you have any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
And I don't have any questions either. So, Mr. Neufeld, you can go on with your presentation.
Thank you. The subject is an owner-occupied bank. Credit unions generally don't rent. What we are often seeing is in a lot of bank rents that we're seeing, there are tenant improvements that are included in the rents. So we thought it would make more sense to look to the building itself. The 1863 is the net rate that the rest of the building is paying, and this unit is not much different than the rest of them. If you go to my page 2, you can see it on the far left. This would be finished just the same as the Horizon Insurance. There's really nothing more. It's a bigger economies of scale. It's just that it goes smaller than that one, but we're using the average of the entire building at 1863, and those are leases, based on leases. Thank you.
Mr. Farshir, any questions?
Yeah, I do have a question. So I'm just looking at your brief here, and I see that you're suggesting 1863, and that's just to be clear, that's an average of the sort of netted out leases at the property. Is that right?
Yeah, on my page 3, this is the income statement for the rest of the property, everything else. So we just extrapolated the same net per square foot that this is achieving on the rented space. So this would be for the net revenue collected for, which, yeah, so what we did, we used the same expenses, and then we changed the revenue to express that area.
Okay, sorry.
It was showed in more fulsome in our realty brief. It wasn't really it was just plucked from that.
Right, so I'm just looking here. Okay, so you're suggesting, is it 1161 for the expenses?
No, expenses are 149,000.
So just going off the first page.
Oh, sorry. What are we saying here?
The expenses per square foot.
Right.
Okay. So so I looked at the mailer. Would you agree then that there are units here that pay the $11.61 and then also have a base rental rate of approximately $24?
Well, those are semi-gross, really. I mean, what we did is we explicitly took the revenue and the expenses that are shown on my page 3. So anything that those base rents of $24 would be semi-gross for a lot of them.
So I'm looking at a specific tenant here, and I'm seeing the base rent of $24, and then they have additional rent of approximately $13.
So that's just one tenant. Like I never looked at. I wasn't looking at individual tenants. I'm looking at the whole building. So
right. Okay.
The revenue, if you add in the revenue without the owner, it was 290. We applied 388,000 in order to, as it was the average revenue per square foot, and then the actual expenses of 149.
Okay. And then none of those other tenants are banks or credit unions. Is that right?
No, very similar finishing up.
Okay. And you don't have any bank or credit union comparables in your brief. Is that correct?
We didn't rely on any for today, no.
Okay. Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan, do you have any questions?
Already asked and answered. Thank you.
Mr. Malenke, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Neufeld, do any of the other tenants have vaults and other security systems that would be similar to what a bank would have?
This bank does not have a vault.
Sorry?
This bank does not have a vault.
This bank does not have a vault.
No, the only security systems would be the door. There's nothing, there's nothing suggesting that it would be any different finishing or rental rate than the rest of the building.
Okay, I'm looking at your picture on your first page of your presentation of the strip mall.
Sure.
And I noticed that it seems to be that the Access Credit Union has the left-hand corner that juts out. So it seems to be a more prominent position in that strip mall. Would you agree with that?
No, not really.
No?
Jutting out does not suggest that it's better property. It would have worse visibility than Pemina going southbound.
And they are the landlord of the whole mall?
Correct.
And I can't see all the other tenants.
We've got Horizon Insurance, Fabutin. I can't see what Kagon is. The pictures blurry up when we have to make them smaller size for online distribution.
Yeah, because I'm wondering if any of the tenants are tenants that have a better rental because the credit union would like to have them in the mall for reasons of either attracting other tenants or because they're a good combination to have with a credit union.
No,
and when I say that, it's like I'm
you're not
talking
seeing
about my own
anyone
experience. When I was practicing for many years, I was a tenant in a credit union, and they gave me a really good rental because they wanted to have a lawyer in the building.
No, that's not happening here at all. This mall has absolutely no tenants that you would see that are.
Well, they also have an insurance company. Excuse me. They also have an insurance company they gave a very good rent to too because they felt it good to have an insurance company.
Do you have that rent?
Selling insurance in the mall, so they gave them a good rate. You wouldn't say that Horizon Credit Union.
Okay.
Excuse me.
No.
Let me finish.
No.
You wouldn't say that Horizon Credit Union might have such an arrangement.
No, that's just nonsense. I would never. They wouldn't be giving Horizon Insurance free rent, and they are not.
I find it odd that they wouldn't have a vault because I've never seen a credit union or a bank before that didn't have a vault in the premises. How do they get around that?
It's a smaller bank. They have no need for it.
Okay, I have no further questions. Thank you. Okay, so our next property then is.
If I just may, Mr. Neufeld had asked me a question. I just had a chance to review. His question was if any of my comparables were credit unions. And I do have one credit union in my brief just to point to real quick.
Okay.
Pulling it up. Oh, sorry, I've closed it. I should not have done that.
Well, open it up again.
Yeah, it's just going to be one moment here. So at 1890 Pembina, it's the second to last premise. That rental rate there is attributed to a credit union.
That's the lease start for 2011.
Correct.
Okay.
Which credit union is that?
Typically we don't like to reveal that information, but I think that property has been under appeal, so probably okay to reveal. It's West Toba Credit Union. It's near Bishop Grand and Pembina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions arising from this? Mr. Neufeld, you too can ask them as well. First, I guess I should say.
I mean, is there any evidence that the rest of the property is renting for less because of this bank that you can see as suggested?
The rest of
is there any evidence that the rest of the tenants in this property are getting discounts on their rent?
I don't have any information as to how they've arrived at the rental rates with their negotiations.
Thank you.
Mr. Berlinke, do you have any other questions of the assessor with regard to the evidence that he's just brought forward?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, and I don't either. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll now then proceed with item number 2, which is the property at 2835 Pembina Highway.
Right. So 2835 Pembina Highway, the business assessment ID is 505 187. It's a restaurant. It's a Smitty's restaurant on South Pembina. And the file number of the application is 22-4676. And so we have a base ARV of $24.94. We did have at this property at large, we did have a agreement with the realty, and typically when possible, we will try to flow through any rental adjustments on the premises. But that was not available to us in this case. So from our end, our understanding of the agreement was that we did not adjust the rent in this particular instance. The reported rental rate is $22 a square foot. That's a lease started in 2000. So it is an older lease. However, the term expired, I believe, in 2021. And it's not clear from the way that they've reported it in 2021 whether or not there's a renewal or if they've just extended the lease for a few months until they get a new lease in place. But regardless, it does appear that in 2021, which is our reference year, they did continue the rate of $22. And then below I have rental comparables. The first few being on Pembina. These are restaurants. And then we have starting on Meadowood and then on Keniston. Those two approximately in the middle of our rental comparable chart. Those two are also Smitty's restaurants. So that's 150 Meadowood Drive and 1629 Keniston Boulevard. So I think that the rental rate that we have on it currently is fair. I think that the lease that's seems to be currently in place that was originally signed in in the year 2000 of $22. I think that represents the lower range, but I think I think you're still going to see restaurants in around $22 a square foot. Again, our agreement didn't go so far as to adjust the rental rate on this unit, but I did want to be clear that $22, while it's on the low end, I still think it's part of a reasonable range. And I think $24.94 would be closer to the middle of the range. So that's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Neufeld, any questions?
Yes, please. At the bottom of your range, you're talking $22 or so. Would you assume adequate parking in that situation?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
I would, and I have a sense of what you're alluding to here. The realty of the property at large, if you will, does rent a lot beside it for additional parking.
Are you aware that lease is terminated?
The additional parking?
Yes.
I'm not aware of that.
So you're not aware that when this was renewed in 21 that was without the parking? That's correct then?
I don't have any information about that.
Okay. Okay, no, that's everything then. Thank you.
Mr. Berlinky, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Faucher, in so far as the realty is concerned, was the final results of that hearing a $22 a square foot lease, or was it the amount that we have at what is it, $24.94?
Right. So there was an agreement in place, and I don't want to speak to all the particulars of the agreement because it didn't actually go to hearing. We had an agreement that a 15-1 agreement that precluded the hearing. I will only say that when we adjust a rental rate on a premise for the purposes of the 15-1 agreement on the realty, we would ordinarily continue that on and give that as a recommendation or an agreement for the business assessment appeal for that individual premise that would have received an adjustment. We have not adjusted this premise. So I would suggest to you that other parameters were at play when it came to the agreement.
Okay, I'll leave it at that then. Okay, as I said, I'll leave it at that then. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, no further questions. So then, Mr. Neufeld, you can proceed.
Thank you. If you go to my page 2, that was the lot in question is southwest of it, just on Kirkbridge Drive there. From 2015 to 2020, it was leased from this property owner from the city. The city has since, I believe, sold it to Hopewell Developments, or no, sorry, another developer who also purchased the land behind this. So there is an apartment that's going in behind this from the plans. The $22 rent was in a holdover for a year as they had completely lost that parking. And then it was renewed at the same rate as stated by the assessor. So we are relying on the $22 that's in place. At the time, last year when we took this in, that was $22 including parking. This year it's $22 without parking. Being 7,500 square feet, you want 75 parking stalls. I think you're looking at about 30 for the entire mall. With that lot, it was adequate parking, but the $22 as stated in the low end of the range, I think a lot of the assessors comparables would include adequate parking as well. You are going to see restaurants with lesser parking, but the rent is then reflected, and that's why that hasn't gone up since then. And when it was renewed in 2021, that's why it stated 22, as they did lose the parking, and that would be the fair market value. I know, when the 15-1 is signed on for a realty of the property, we're looking at the final value. If we're adjusting rents or caps, it's not really how you got to it, it's what you got to. I think the lease itself is very important and indicative of what is in place here. And on top of it too, we did have a municipal board decision about air conditioning in the kitchen areas, and the board did determine that it does not meet comfortable occupancy, the airflow inside a kitchen. It is virtually impossible to air conditioning a kitchen without like swamp air conditioning and putting water in there. You don't see that in Canada, or especially Winnipeg. So the area without AC, or area with AC, is 3,200 square feet and 49 for a total request of 182,480. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Faucher, any questions?
Yes, I have a question. That neighboring parcel, do you know if the realty owner of the subject parcel purchased that neighboring parcel?
I don't. Sorry, I think as far as I know, that vacant land north of the lot, I believe they purchased that lot, or they are continuing to lease it from the city. But I believe it was a purchase. I do know that this property owner that owns the Smitty's building and no longer has control of that lot.
So the property owner that owns the Smitty's property does not have control over the neighboring parcel on
No.
Kirkbridge?
No, not anymore. Sorry, I said Hopewell. It wasn't. Hopewell owns this Smitty's, but this the behind them is not a Hopewell development.
So just to be clear, would you agree that the realty ownership of 2835 Pembina Highway, so the subject realty roll number here, would you agree that it's owned by Manitoba Limited Company 5176990 Manitoba Limited?
I have to look that up. Just a second. That's on title, I take it?
Yes, that's the information that is available to us.
I would take your word for it, yeah.
And so the Kirkbridge property purchased in 2021, would you agree that the ownership there is the same? 5176990 Manitoba Limited?
I don't have that. I didn't see that. My information is that it was dedicated to an apartment development, so to the west of it. So it is no longer dedicated to the Smitty's. Perhaps I got that information wrong, and it is a similar owner, but it is being dedicated to the land behind it.
Okay. And have you seen any active permits for that roll number? Where
No.
they have parking?
All I know is that Smitty's no longer has they no longer carry control of it.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan, any questions?
So you had said that it's going to be an apartment block because why? There's plans?
That was the plan for the purchaser that we had heard of. That was and it's common in our marketplace as well. But and I believe the offer to purchase from the city for the land included that as part of it.
Do you have any of that in your evidence?
Don't know. I do. I just have that they're no longer renting it. They're no longer controlling it.
Okay. And then what's the length of the lease that started in 2021?
The assessor brought it forward. I didn't have it. I believe it was, I imagine 5 years. I don't, we were relying on the one that was in place in 2020. We hadn't seen this new one.
So to be clear, the information that I had seemed to be extending the lease by 1 year.
Okay.
I was uncertain whether or not, it was part of a broader renewal or if it was just an extension on the term.
So I guess my question would be then, how do we know the new lease is $22 without parking versus $22 with parking?
The parking is I guess it's not in this information, but the parking is no longer in control of Smitty's. But yeah, I'm not showing that here.
Okay, thank you. No other questions.
Okay, so I think you've answered the question already, Mr. Neufeld. You've indicated that you only know that the lease in question that was in force in 2021 was at $20 a foot, and it was extended for at least 1 year, perhaps more, but you don't know the parameters. Correct?
What was the question?
The question was, oh boy, I have to do that again. The question was, you are indicating that the lease was extended for 1 year and you're relying on the extension, which was $22 in 2021.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're also indicating that there was parking available on an adjacent property that is no longer controlled by the owner of this particular.
No, Smitty's had control of the parking and no longer does.
When you say Smitty's, are you talking about Smitty's, just Smitty's, or so they had an arrangement with on the property next door?
Yes.
Okay, so that really was always outside of the rent on this particular property then?
No. No, that was
Well, it
part
would
of,
have been because if they had to pay for parking on adjacent property,
no,
that
it was,
wouldn't take into account the rent they were paying on the property that
We're-
the lease is part of.
it was included in the rent, and it no longer is.
But you say Smitty's made the arrangement, not the landlord, for the adjacent property.
I,
As
what?
you just said. So I'm wondering exactly where
No.
we're going here.
Cities had control of the parking. They no longer do. They had control of the parking for $22 for 15 years, and now they have no parking for $22.
So were they paying extra for the parking on the adjacent property?
No.
So then the landlord was making arrangements for that property to provide parking to tenants in the small then.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Right now, and I know this is post-reference, but it's interesting because it would have reflected what was going on at the time when the lease was in fact negotiated for the adjacent period. Is Smitty's business affected because there's less parking there now?
Yeah, they would have less parking for their.
No, they would. Do you know if it's affected or not? If in fact they have less business because parking is an issue now.
We haven't we haven't gone through their income statements, whether or not they're losing business because of it. There would be, they're no longer in control of parking, so their annual rental value would include less parking, and that's the point I'm trying to make.
Okay, and you're saying that they're still paying $22, but you don't know how long they're going to be paying $22 for, or is that lease?
They were paying $22, and according to the assessor, it was a year lease holdover.
Okay, so you don't know what they're still there, correct?
Excuse me, sorry?
Yeah, they're still there.
Yeah, as far as I know. Yeah.
And you don't know what they're paying now. Not that it's pertinent anyway, because it's post-reference, but
as far as I know, they're still paying the $22.
Mr. Fisher, I'm going to ask you another question because you brought something else up when you're questioning Mr. Neufeld that you didn't bring up in your original evidence, and I think it's important. Did you indicate that the adjacent property was acquired by a number company that is the same number company that owns this mall?
Correct.
Okay. They haven't consolidated the titles, though, so that's not a different role?
Not from what I see. Yep, it is a different role at this point still within our system. I don't know if there's been any request to consolidate the titles or anything of that nature, but I'm also not seeing any active permits for this property. So for the parking lot, I don't see any permits whatsoever. So I would suggest that no construction has begun or is currently being planned.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that takes us then. I'm complete then. So let's take a look here. Okay, I think then, Mr. Neufeld, that completes your two items on the docket today.
Okay.
So you can leave. You'll get our decisions in due course, and thank you for your attendance.
Thank you. I guess I don't get summation.
If you want a summation, you can absolutely have it. Sorry, if you absolutely have a right to a summation.
That's fine. I think that's clear what was said. Thank you.
Thank you. Morning. Okay, so we now have the next property. So we have to admit a new applicant and have that applicant affirmed.
Please state your full name. Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Morning, Mr. Reimer.
Good morning.
Okay, so our first matter then is 3042 Portage Avenue. And Mr. Boucher, when you're ready, you can proceed.
Sure. So the first tenant here that we have is B-3042 Portage Avenue. The business assessment ID is 4793. This is a piston ring. And the file number of the application is 22-4152. And so we had a base rent per square foot of $9.21 assessed on this premise. The reported rent paid is $10 a square foot. And then we have some comparables below, but just to kind of expedite this a little bit, I believe Mr. Reimer will be seeking a confirmation of the business assessed value.
Is that correct, Mr. Reimer?
That is indeed correct.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions, Ms. Duncan?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Belenky, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. And I don't have either. So we can complete this matter then and proceed with our next matter, which, give me a second. Would be item number 4, which is 1842 Main Street.
So 1842 Main Street, it's a Royal Bank, and the business assessment ID is 7408, and the application file number is 22-4348, and the base rent per square foot that we had this assessed at was $21.12. And then you can see below, they have a reported rent of $19.50. However, it is an older lease from 2012. And it's also reported as monthly, so there is no lease term given. So again, in this situation, I believe Mr. Reimer is seeking confirmation under 54-1.
Is that correct, Mr. Reimer?
That is correct.
Okay. And I'm going to assume for brevity that there aren't going to be any questions for panel members, but please, panel members, if you ever have a question, if there are a few further of these, just speak up and I'll let you ask your question.
Yes, okay.
And I don't have any questions either, so thank you. So we can proceed with our next matter then, which is item number 5, which is 3193 Portage Avenue. Mr. Porcher, when you're ready.
Yeah, so let me just make sure I got the right one open. Let's be a moment. I apologize. There are a few on this docket that have very similar addresses, so I have to be a little bit extra cautious that I start reading about the right one. Okay, so 3193 Portage Avenue. This is a superstore. The business assessment ID is 5223. The file number is 22-4272. And so this is a property where we had a recommendation for the realty that has sort of flowed through to the business assessment here. And so on our page 2 and 3 of my brief, we have a workup of the original assessment on the left-hand side, and then it's basically the flow through of the realty agreement on the right-hand side. So there's 3 premises that we're speaking about today. So the first one is on page 2, and then the other 2 are on page 3. And it may take a moment to be familiar with sort of how the calculation is working here and the layout. But on the right-hand side, again, is the revision. And so for the first one, the gas gas bar here, we had no change, but it is part of this business assessment ID. So I did want to include it just so you're aware that there is no change to the gas bar rental rate. So we have $200.94 a square foot. And then on page 3, this is the mezzanine at the top. And that we've gone to $6 as the base ARV per square foot. And then on the larger grocery store main floor premise, we have that at the bottom of page 3. We've used a revised rental rate of $12.25. And so in total, the business assessment with our proposed reduction goes from $2,140,140 down to $1,995,120.
Thank you. And you showed us how we got to that. That's acceptable to the applicant, Mr. Reimer?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to suggest that I would be comfortable with that, but I'd appreciate if I could just have a minute of the board's time when I make my presentation, just to put things in context.
Okay, that's fine. We can do that. Any questions, Mr. Belenky?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan, any questions?
Oh, was there a revised overall rent rate with that reduction per square foot?
Overall, I would suggest that the overall rate per square foot might be not particularly valuable, because there is a smaller premise, which is the gas station kiosk, and that really it's a $200 assessed rate, so it would really kind of skew things. But the main floor, which is sort of the predominant premise here, is at a rate of $12.25. So
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's helpful, but
No, that's okay. I get what you're saying. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no questions further. So Mr. Reimer, you can certainly go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. So what I hope to do is just sort of give the board the context for a couple of these. Mr. Fougere and I and some other members of the assessment department did have opportunities to review a number of the realty assessments involving properties in which some of these premises are located. This is one of them. And I mentioned this late last week in another business assessment hearing, that the final value certainly was agreed to, but the methodology that was applied by the parties, Altus Group and by the assessor, were slightly different in some cases. And this is one of those cases where my suggestion in page 2 of my submission, my suggestion for a revised annual rental value based on Altus Group's calculation of the lower realty figure is $1,980,000, as opposed to Mr. Fougere's suggestion of $1,995,000. Quite bluntly, that's within, we're so very close. Both parties made adjustments. It's just a matter of the degree of the adjustments. I am very comfortable with Mr. Fougere's suggestion at $1,995,000, given the quantum of the assessment and the fact that we're within there's less than a 1% difference in this. So with those comments in mind, I just wanted to make the board aware of the slight differences in some of these calculations resulting from cases where the realty assessment final value had been agreed, but slight differences in rental value calculations based on those revised assessment figures for realty. So with all that said, then, Mr. Chairman, to be blunt, I'm very comfortable with $1,995,120, notwithstanding the slightly lower request in my materials. Thank you.
Okay, and just to be clear then, though, Mr. Reimer, you're accepting the recommendation of the assessor.
I am comfortable accepting it in this case. We're so close indeed.
Thank you. Mr. Fougere, any questions? Hello, we lost you, Mr. Fougere?
sorry, I had muted myself just so
That's
I
fine.
wasn't
Yeah, I just
making
wondering if you have any questions after
Yeah,
hearing Mr. Reimer.
No questions. Just wanted to echo the thought, though, that for the purposes of the realty, when we come to an agreement, we may have our own differences with how to arrive at that final value. So, if we see that, it's not unusual or a case where, we believe that another party is misrepresenting an agreement or anything of that nature.
For sure.
So just to be clear. Yeah.
No, for sure. I get the goodwill between you and Mr. Reimer, and I appreciate that. And the fact of the matter is that it's just a slight difference. It's really going to make little difference in the final taxation anyway.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Ms. Duncan?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Belinkie.
No questions, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we can then proceed with our next property, which is item number 6, I guess. And you're right, the addresses do get close. And this is 3381 Portage Avenue. Mr. Foucher, when you're ready.
Right. So for the last property we're dealing with Superstore, this is the Safeway gas bar. The address is 3381 Portage Avenue. And the business assessment ID is 43665. And the application file number is 22-4615. And again, I think we're going to have a small difference in our understanding of how we arrived at the realty agreement that was in place. We, on our end, did not adjust the gas bar rent. This is owner occupied here, so there is no reported rent. Below, we have other gas bar rental rates here. Here we are using $200.90 as a base ARV per square foot. And the information that's available to us currently is below in the table, ranging on a lower end of a range from $145.45 signed back in 1995 up to $188.57 a square foot, and that's in 2017. There isn't a lot of information when it comes to gas bars. This is the majority of it within the city. And just for information purposes, gas bars are usually leased out as a land lease. So all the improvements, which are taxable, are put in and managed and then eventually removed by the tenant. So the rental rate that normally would represent the land and the building, really these rental rates only represent the land. However, the improvements on the site are still taxable, just to be clear. So our proposed or our assessment here totals $83,580, and we do not have a recommendation for this premise here at this time. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Reimer, any questions of Mr. Verger?
So just to be clear, Mr. Fougere, this is ultimately then the same model-driven rental rate that the model would have produced for the purposes of the initial realty assessment, correct?
Correct.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. That's my only question.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan, any questions?
What would put this particular property at the 291 cent mark, which is higher than all the comparables?
Nothing specifically, just that this is what our model has produced. It doesn't have any anything special happening at the site.
Okay, thank you. No other questions.
Mr. Belinkie, any questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I guess the only question I have is, I know the model does things in its own a peculiar way, and usually it's pretty accurate, but in this case, it did come up with a base rent of $200.90. And I would think that it would base that on the comparables that you've listed. So I'm just wondering how we got a model rent of $200.90 when none of the comparables approach that amount.
Right. And to your point, I noticed it too, which is why I pointed it out. I do not have any additional information, and this is what's out there in terms of comparable rents, and that's at this point that's all I was able to produce.
Okay, well, we'll have to get more clarity from Mr. Reimer. Mr. Reimer, when you're ready, you can proceed.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. So if we could initially turn to page 2, please. So our request this morning is to reduce the annual rental value for this premise. To be clear, it's a gas bar that's owned by Sobeys. It's operating under a Shell banner, but it is ultimately Sobeys that's operating here. And the request is to reduce it to $72,960. As indicated by Mr. Fougere, this is a case where the realty assessment, which involves both the Sobeys store and this gas bar on one realty roll, the realty assessment was the subject of a reduction that was agreed upon by the parties, and a copy of the board order is attached. There's a slight difference. This is a case where, Mr. Chairman, where there's a slight difference again in the calculation of the net rent attributable within that larger agreement as to value, the net rent that Altus attributed to the gas bar. If you turn to page 5, our suggestion this morning to reduce it to $72,960 is based upon the application of a net market rent of $71,968, and then adding in the occupancy costs is how we get to that revised figure. I just quickly wanted to bring to the board's attention on pages 8 and 9 is a copy of the board order relating to the realty assessment, again, including both the grocery store and the gas bar. And then on what I have done is attached to these materials our submission concerning the realty assessment. And on page 24 of our brief this morning, that page, at the top of that page, there is a chart that contains the gas bar comparables that we had reference to. They range from a low of 22,000 up to a high of 71,483. I do note that the first comparable, 71,483, the department's got that very same comparable in their materials with a start date of June of 2003. I do believe there was actually a renewal that was done, and our materials reflects the renewal that was done in March of 20 at the 71,483. Quite bluntly, Mr. Chairman, on that chart on page 24, indices 2, 4, and 5 are smaller gas bar operations that really I'd suggest would not be as comparable as indices 1 and 3, which range between 58,000 and 71,483. So we're suggesting this morning, based on, and again, the realty assessment request had ultimately been based upon a gas bar rent of 71,552 for realty. That's how shown on page 26. In our valuation for the final reduced assessment, we applied effectively that same rate. And that's what I'm requesting this morning, is to reduce the overall rent to 71,968, add in the occupancy costs, resulting in a requested ARV of 72,960. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, Mr. Fougere?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Bleckie, do you have any questions?
I have no questions.
Okay, and I don't either, so thank you very much. So that takes us then to item number 7, which is 3393 Portage Avenue. And when you're ready, Mr. Fougere?
Sure. So 3393 Portage Avenue. This is the Safeway that is sort of part and parcel of the last business assessment that we just heard. It's the also part of the same the realty roll number. So here, sorry, I should say, I'm not sure if I've read it all here, but the business assessment ID is 43662. And the application file number is 22-4617. And so we have a base ARV per square foot of $14.14. And we believe that's within, our comparables listed below. And so we're satisfied. And I believe Mr. Reimer as well is seeking a 54-1 confirmation. Thank
Is
you.
that correct, Mr. Reimer?
That's indeed correct. So our realty calculation was based upon the very same rent or within very close to what Mr. Fougere is presenting. So we are seeking a 54-1 on this premise at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. And if anybody has any questions, you can bring them forward now, panel members. Okay, I don't either. Thank you. So we can then proceed with our next matter, which is 1602 St. Mary's Road. And again, when you're ready, you can proceed.
Sure. So 1602 St. Mary's Road. This is a Cambrian credit union. The business assessment ID is 6474. The file number is 22-4545. And there is a lease that was signed in 2018 for this property at $19.36. We have two premises here. One is the main floor area with a model driven rate of $23.22. And then the other premise here, 64 square feet. That's in the parking lot. They have a drive-through automated teller. And so that's why you get such a high rate per square foot, and why the area of that automated teller is so small, 64 square feet. So we don't have a recommendation here. Again, I think the rental rate that's signed in 2018 represents sort of the lower end of the range. And below we have bank and credit union comparables throughout. We have St. Mary's, St. Anne's, Dakota, and again, St. Mary's at the bottom. And then we also have a couple on Vermilion Road, which is a little ways away, but one of which is the same credit union tenant here. So just to show a bit of a range, but that is the reported rental rate as of 2018. And I have no reason to disbelieve or question the reported rent here. We're close, but unfortunately, I did not have a recommendation approved at this time for this property.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Reimer, any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Malinky, do you have any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan, do you have any questions?
Just the comparables, do they have standalone ATMs on the property as well, or are they within the buildings?
I don't believe, actually, no, I'm thinking of another property here. I don't believe that they do. As far as my memory here, I'm able to recall that most of them are, if not all of them, are part of the actual building.
Thank you. No other questions.
Okay. I guess my only question is, would all the comparables, as far as you know anyway, have vaults? Or if you don't know, just say you can't answer that.
Vaults, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard of any bank not having a vault. I haven't come across, and it's probably true. I've only looked at a handful of floor plans for banks. I have not heard of any not having vaults, but it's difficult to prove something that I haven't come across before, you know.
Yeah, no, that's why I asked the question the way I did. I know it's maybe a very difficult question to answer. You know if the subject property has a vault?
I believe so.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Reimer, you can proceed.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Could we turn to page 2 of our submission, please? And so this is, as Mr. Fougere alluded to, this is the Cambrian Credit Union located at 1602 or 1600/1602 St. Mary's. Photos there, so you can see the standalone ATM that Mr. Fougere is referring to is on the right-hand side. And the Cambrian is the one unit. It's a multi-unit building, and the Cambrian occupies the unit that you can see in the photo there. This is not, we do not have conduct of the realty assessment review of the property. We don't represent this owner. So this isn't, this particular premises, I should say, or premise falls outside of the scope of the rest of them, where we had also had conduct of the realty appeal. So in this case, though, what we are suggesting, Mr. Chairman, if we turn briefly to page 5, we are asking for a reduction in the annual rental value to $111,240. That is in turn based on the application of the lease renewal rate of 22. We actually have it as higher at $22 a square foot. So I've applied the $22, and I'll explain very briefly to the board in a moment my reasoning for the $22. So that then, as I understand, it also includes the ATM component. So the total rent being paid under the 2018 renewal was $99,836. There is a step in that lease, and I wanted to bring that to the board's attention. I'll refer to the board to the materials very shortly. Then running through with the addition of the occupancy costs, we come in at a requested ARV of $111,240. If we turn then to page 9, please, of our submission. And page 9, there's a 2-page renewal. Page 9 indicates the initial rate to be paid, I should say, on renewal. It's $99,836 based on the rate of $22 a square foot. That's at the bottom of the page. So that's the rate that we have applied in this case, is the total rent of $99,836 based on that $22 rate. As I say, for full disclosure, though, I wanted to let the board know, if you turn to the last page, page 10, there is a step up, as you can see there, to $24 a square foot, but that doesn't kick in until June of 2023. So we are applying what was in effect and would be in effect for some time after the reference date, in this case of the $22 rate, and are requesting the board to make the reduction accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fougere, any questions?
No questions. Thank you very much.
Mr. Blake, any questions?
Oh, I have no questions. Thank you.
Ms. Duncan, any questions?
There's just no comparables, I don't think, in your evidence. Was there any
Yeah.
comparable you used, or is it based on the lease?
That's exactly right. We're taking the June 2018 lease renewal as a proxy for the market for that space, for sure. It's a good question, Mr. Chairman, that Ms. Duncan is asking. I suggest the market conditions hadn't changed appreciably for this type of space between June of 18 and the reference date. But admittedly, there's nothing further that I've provided in these materials other than the lease renewal.
Thank you. No other questions from me.
Okay. And I'm assuming, and I'm sure you're going to tell me that it's correct, but just to make sure, the landlord and the tenant are at arm's length.
That's correct. Yes, they are. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess you're basing your position then on the best comparable as the subject property.
Given the relatively tight timeline between the renewal date and the reference date, exactly right. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions. Okay, we now go then to the last item on the docket today, which is the property at 1385 Sargent Avenue. And Mr. Fougere, when you're ready, you can proceed.
Sure. So 1385 Sargent Avenue. This is another superstore. The business assessment ID is 33782. And the file number for the application is 22-4275. And so here again, we have a variety of premises. We have the main floor premise at 149,363 square feet. And then we have another premise, I believe That's a mezzanine of 12,034 square feet, and then another of 2,410 square feet. And then we also have a gas bar here as well. And so that's 305 square feet, and with a base ARV on that one of 206.62. And so I believe this property here had a recommendation at the realty level, but I don't believe that recommendation impacted in any way to reduce the business assessment. So we're asking for confirmation here, and I believe Mr. Reimer is as well.
That's correct, Mr. Reimer?
That is correct. My calculations among the different premises was slightly different, but the total is virtually bang on. So I am seeking confirmation at this time. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to do 54-1, and that actually, unless there's questions from panel members, I believe are there any questions, Mr. Belenky or Ms. Duncan?
No questions, thank you.
No questions, thank you.
I don't either, so I can indicate that we've now heard all matters that have been docketed for today. So we are now going to end the session. We will be deliberating, and we'll render our decisions very shortly. Thank you very much for both your attendances.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care, everyone.
Morning.
You too.